Hello and welcome to AEW.1, the AEW Women's Division blog. My name is Travis. You can read more of our articles on our website at AEW.1. That, of course, is ONE, not the number. You can read opinion articles, match reviews, and creative pitches, which we call Pitch Please. You can also look me up on Twitter at AW_1. Once again, that is ONE, not the number one. And please, if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. It helps out a lot. At the time of recording, I'm looking, there's 77 subscribers, which, I know is a pittance, and YouTube doesn't send you a plaque for, but that blows my mind that 77 people have subscribed to this channel already. We're just getting started. Thanks for coming on board. If you're listening to the first time, again, please subscribe. I really appreciate it. If reports are to be believed, Kris Statlander was set to give Jade Cargill her first loss at AEW Grand Slam in Queens, New York, in front of her hometown. This would have been the type of star-making moment for Kris Statlander that I had talked about in my previous video called Kris Statlander is Ready. Grand Slam was the perfect time, Arthur Ashe was the perfect venue, and Kris Statlander was in the perfect position as fans were clamoring for Tony Khan to rocket her to the top of the division. In the aftermath of this abandoned purported booking, I feel like some have lost the plot. Whereas Kris Statlander was the perfect woman to end Jade's streak, I'm seeing a lot of people online fantasy booking from the exact wrong end of this equation, asking who should beat Jade Cargill at Grand Slam, as if ending the streak was more important than elevating the person who ends it. My brother in Sting, I cannot stress this enough. Ending Jade Cargill's streak is the single biggest title in women's wrestling today, full stop. The last thing AEW wants is for people to look back and say, man, Jade Cargill really went unbeaten for over 550 days just for Wrestler X to beat her, and it meant nothing. We shouldn't be putting someone in the spot just for the sake of it. It's incredibly special. You only get one shot at nailing it. Do not rush this. For me, at this very moment in time, there's only one woman who's worthy of beating Jade Cargill, and that's still Kris Statlander. In the coming months, someone else could emerge, but right now, there's no one who's in the position that Stat was in. But wherever I've pushed even the idea of Tony Khan delaying until Kris Statlander returns, it's usually met with, that's too far away, and besides, Jade's already beaten everyone. That last point isn't even remotely true. Of Jade Cargill's 34 singles victories, 22 of them have come against unsigned talent. So while it may feel as though Jade has conquered the entire division, Tony Khan's patient booking style has left a lot on the table as far as feuds. To cherry pick a few, we haven't seen Jade Cargill face one-on-one Britt Baker, Hikaru Shida, Toni Storm, Serena Deeb, Nyla Rose, Jamie Hayter, Penelope Ford, Mercedes Martinez, Diamante, Emi Sakura, Julia Hart, since she joined the House of Black, Riho, and Yuka Sakazaki. There is easily over a year's worth of programs right there that you could run if you wanted to. But as another option, how about the Jade Cargill Open Challenge for some fun and competitive, albeit predictable matches? You could have a new opponent every week that's unpredictable. Like imagine a big body like Max the Impaler or Genocide walks into Dynamite. Or maybe Allison Kay comes knocking, or Deonna Purrazzo. Maybe Abaddon answers the challenge for a Halloween episode. As I said before, Jade Cargill hasn't faced Julia Hart since joining the House of Black, and she's been getting built up really strong on Dark and Elevation. There's always Maki Ito for a quick pop. What about Jordan Grace or Miyu Yamashita? There's so many options, and I think it would be one of the highlights of Dynamite and Rampage every week to do this. But let's go back to feuds for the moment. In my mind, there's one feud that is a prerequisite before Jade can ever be beaten, and that is a 2-match program against Dr. Britt Baker. And I say a 2-match program for a very specific reason. So, in my professional life, I am a marketer. And for better or worse, I tend to slip into analyzing AEW's fan base as a marketer. Most attitudes from AEW's fan base can be traced back to online sentiment. Even if you want to say that the minority of AEW's fan base is on Twitter, Twitter sentiment heavily influences the fan reaction you see on TV, which of course goes out to the entire audience. But AEW Twitter isn't a total monolith. There are segments within the whole of varying sizes and influences who inform the aggregate psychology of the group as a whole. For instance, there is a segment of Twitter who would be filled with existential dread at the thought of Britt Baker being the one in Jade's win-loss record. Those folks have their reasons for not liking Britt. I don't share them. People are entitled to their own opinion, that's fine. But from where I sit, there also seems to be a very toxic sub-segment of this segment, probably the minority, who infest every single post about Britt Baker trying to throw shade. It should also be mentioned that a lot of these accounts are probably bad faith actors who just shit on AEW no matter what topic, because people have a lot of time in their hands. But this segment, whether it's in good faith or bad, definitely exists. So my belief is that through a unconscious coalition of these anti-dentites and the IWC baddies who stan Jade, combined with your typical AEW fan who just simply doesn't want to see AEW suffer bad vibes, a strong, if not obstinate, position of Jade must win will form. And Jade will win, and everyone's happy. It's a tidy piece of business. You've given the people exactly what they wanted. But then the real rub comes in the form of a rematch. For those of us still suffering from what I call WWE brain, a rematch would automatically scan as an opportunity for 50-50 booking or to give Britt her win back. You'll see declarations of, if Britt wins, I'm done with AEW online and the like. This would legitimately be a stressful situation for a lot of fans, because whether you're an athlete or a fan or a coach, I've been all three, the fear of losing often weighs heavier than the jubilation of victory. So a second Jade victory over Britt would probably feel transcendent. I think this feud would be big enough to run at 2 straight pay-per-views, or, even hotter, if you could line up the rematch for a show in Pittsburgh. Now, I mentioned earlier that Arthur Ashe and Grand Slam were the perfect place and perfect time for Kris Statlander. Unfortunately, that can't happen, but let's try to make chicken salad out of chicken shit here. I'm going to make an argument that it's the perfect time and place for Jade Cargill to make a huge statement, figuratively and literally. Borrowing from some of the same fan psychology I used in the Britt Baker rematch, I would book a rematch with Athena at Grand Slam. And to justify a rematch, it's as simple as Athena saying that if not for the baddies, she would have won the match early on, and she can accuse Jade of caring more about her streak than actually being good, and Jade will want to prove her wrong. Match made. Now, just going over that fan psychology again, I believe fans would expect Athena to win this match for a few reasons. the expectation of 50-50 booking, thinking Athena can't afford the loss. Fans thinking that Athena is functionally subbing in for Kris Statlander. Also that it's a big moment and Grand Slam is a big stage. And also the misguided belief that it's time for Jade's streak to end. But here's the thing, and not a lot of wrestling fans want to admit this, but when wrestling fans think that they've figured out a booking pattern, they tend to feel very smart about it, and they pat themselves on the back for figuring it out and anoint their own fantasy booking as the only logical outcome. At which point, ironically, they've become very emotionally attached to their logical outcome. I'm not including just fans, but podcasters, journalists, or any other influencers online. And, admittedly, I've done this as well. So, a Jade win here could trigger backlash, but I think a great post-match promo can quash all of that. So imagine the worst case scenario. The people in the crowd on the night in Arthur Ashe Stadium want to be the fans who were there for the big moment when Jade's streak was broken and Athena took the TBS title. They're anticipating celebrating that. And then Jade wins. And the fans aren't happy, and it's not heat, it's more like resentment. And again, I'm not saying that the resentment would be justified, it's just sometimes what happens. So chants of bullshit are raining down as the graphic showing 38-0 is on the Tron. And angry thumbs are already composing their tweets about how this is illogical or bad booking. And then Jade grabs the mic. All right, just a little cringe warning for all of you. I'm about to spit out a promo as Jade Cargill. I don't think this can help but come off as cringe, but I'm just going to do it. Try to listen to the words and not my voice, and just try and imagine Jade saying this as best you can and not some weak-chinned white boy. Okay, here we go. Cut my music and cut the shit, New York. I've got something to say. A couple weeks ago, the greatest of all time, Serena Williams, stood in this very spot here in Arthur Ashe Stadium and said goodbye to the sport that she dominated. Today, another strong black woman picks up the mantle to start a new legacy. Today I'm that bitch, but tomorrow you'll call me that goat. And this is the absolute last call to get on the baddie bandwagon. So either get on board or get run over. From there, I would book Jade to remain strong, of course, undefeated, until at least Revolution, honestly. Simultaneously, I'd have a short list of women who I'd be booking very strong but keeping away from Jade. My hope would be to heat someone enough that the fans would practically be begging for them to have a title, like they were with Kris Statlander. My own short list, of course besides Statlander, includes number 1 with a bullet, Jamie Hayter. Jamie Hayter feels very hot right now. She has a style a lot like Kris Statlander's, where she's just a strong brute in the ring. I could see her being the one that fans get behind. My other 2 choices, ironically, is Athena. I say ironically because I just fantasy booked Jade beating her twice in a row. But down the line, I think you can have a third match where Athena finally pulls it off. And lastly, drum roll, Willow Nightingale. That's right, it's just a hunch. I think Willow Nightingale is awesome. I think she has the kind of charisma that fans will just get behind. I think she could possibly be the one. Your top 3 may well be very different from mine, but regardless, a lot can happen to sideline one's plans. Injuries, as we're very well aware of at this point, can happen, and fan sentiment can be pretty nebulous at times, where someone was red hot before, within a couple weeks they can feel very tired. So the timing is crucial, and you only get one chance, again, at nailing this. Which is why, as a contingency plan, if no one gets hot enough to supplant that bitch, I've penciled in Kris Statlander to defeat Jade Cargill at Grand Slam 2023, if not sooner. And if that ended up being how it goes down, imagine how much bigger of a star Jade Cargill would be at that point in time, and how much more it would mean to give it to Kris Statlander to be the one. These ideas aside, I've actually fantasy booked my own year-long Jade Cargill undefeated run to take her to Kris Statlander at next year's Grand Slam, but that's entirely too long to post here and probably only interesting to me, so I'm just gonna save that to myself. But what do you think? What should happen with Jade Cargill's streak, and who should be the one to end it? You can comment down below, or find this article on AW.1 and comment there, or again, look me up on Twitter at AW_1 and give me a shout there and let me know your thoughts. Thanks for listening, and as always, make sure you let the women in your life know how much you appreciate them.